My name is NicolePacini. I am the author of the unBITTER, the Blueprint Journal. I am also a writer. I am an artist. I am a creator. I am an influencer. And I am the founder and creator of the unBITTER brand and the unBITTER podcast. Okay, I'm excited. As you can see, it is the first season of the unBITTER podcast, and I could not be happier, but I'm also a little bit nervous, and I'm also really anxious just to get everybody's feedback. The first season of the unBITTER podcast is me having a conversation with each of my children. What that will show you is some of who I am, and it will also give you a little bit of light, shed a little bit of light on how I parented my children. The core mission of the unBITTER podcast is to embolden women through avenues of healing, transparency, accountability, and self-empowerment. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Taurus. I'm the oldest child out of the 6 children birthed by you.
You just got right into it. Dang. Hey, Taurus, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you, because I know you was a little apprehensive at first. So, what was your first thoughts when I asked you to do the podcast, or when I told you about it? Like, what was your first thought?
My first thoughts was no, I'm not doing it because I don't want to do it, and I don't want to do no interviews and nothing like that. So that was my first thought. I was like, I don't really want to get into all this, and so. But, as a gift to you for going ahead and giving birth to me, I said,
Okay.
let me go ahead and do this little solid for you right fast.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Because it wasn't going to be right if you wasn't going to be on here with me.
Yeah, I know.
Can't be complete.
Because it wasn't going to happen if I ain't do it. So here
Right.
it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I had to lay the blueprint down for these younger folks.
Okay.
So
okay.
It is.
Well, like he says, this is my firstborn. I don't know what to say other than, I'm really thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that, I was able to give birth to you, even through all the trials and tribulations, just having you at such a young age. I was in high school and I got pregnant with you. I had you spring break of my senior year of high school, never missed a day of school, still graduated, still thugged it out, despite what people said, And so I'm really grateful for that. So I appreciate you being here today. I'm excited about the Q&A. So we just gonna get right into it. The purpose of this conversation is just for people to get a better understanding of me as I enter into this podcast world. The unBITTER platform is something I've been working on for a long time. Y'all know that. And so this is just the introduction to what could potentially come in the future as I continue to invite people on the platform and we keep talking about, healing, accountability, transparency, things like that. But to get to know me through my children, I think is a different spin. And so instead of me just talking about myself, I want you guys to ask me questions. And, we're just going to have a conversation, chop it up like we always do.
For sure.
All right, so let's just get right into it. Let's get right. Be gentle.
Okay. We're gonna start easy. So,
okay.
As far as being a young parent and having your first child as a teenager, what was it like parenting at that time while being a young teenager? What was it like for you navigating this crazy newborn in the late 80s? Like, what was it? What did it feel like at that time?
Oh, the late 80s. Well, I think looking back, it's a different feeling than actually going through it. Going through it was bananas, crazy. It was uncertain times. Didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is that I had a baby. I had to finish school, and I had to take care of the baby. Like, that's all I knew. So taking care of the baby meant changing it, not it, but changing you, feeding you, that type of thing. I didn't grasp the whole parenting part of what it took to take care for a child until probably years and years and years later. But I knew that I did have an obligation to at least make sure, you were taken care of, fed, and all those types of things. And then a year later, Jasmine came. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And then there was a lot of scrutiny that comes along with being a teenage mom. Scrutiny from the people that you love, people that don't see a future for you because you have a kid and you're a kid.
Mm.
It was very challenging. It was
Yeah.
challenging. It was you were a good baby though, so that was a plus. You're a
I
good
heard.
baby.
I heard.
Yeah, so you're a good baby. So that wasn't challenging, but it's the day in and day out of actually taking care of someone when you're such a young child yourself
Yeah.
and trying to figure it all out. But I had a great support system, so I'm
Mhm.
very grateful for that. But
So
yeah, it was. Go ahead.
100%. Did you feel like, as far as your parenting skills at that time, um, did you feel like you was operating on 100% how you were parented, or where were you pulling from on how to figure out what to do as a parent at that time, day to day? Like, where were you just pulling off of your mother, or where were you getting the things you were doing? Where did they come from? Your style at that time, your style of parenting.
I think it came from a little bit of everything. How I would see other my style of parenting. I mean, I don't even know if I have a style of parenting, but what I think for the most part, it was me seeing how other people were raising their children, because I had cousins and stuff that had kids. So I was, around people who had children. But again, there's a difference between having a baby and being a parent.
Yeah.
For a very long time, it's just like, oh, I have a baby that I have to take care of. But I'm not really resonating with I have to be a parent. This is a different type of thing. But I think eventually along the way, I started to recognize that my parenting skills weren't the best. And I think that definitely was in relationship to how I was parented.
Mm. And at what
Yeah.
point did you realize that maybe they're not the best? And two-part question. When did you realize that they weren't the best? And what was your response to that realization?
I think probably around the time when we moved to Minnesota, I was 22, you were 4, Jasmine was 3. And I remember remember I told you how I used to journal a lot.
Hmm.
How I used to journal a lot. And so when I go back and read my journals, like in real time, it's kind of hard to understand some of these things. But when I go back and read some of my journal entries, I always pray to be a better parent. So I
Yeah.
knew there was some type of disconnect there, but I just didn't know what it was. And I'm still so young, still trying to get to know who I am as a person. I'm still, maturing and growing and developing. And then I have children, but I'm still not attaching. I knew that something was not necessarily 100%, and I knew that was something that I needed to work on. And I would journal about, and I would ask God, to cover me, protect you all. And I always just put in my journal, I want to be a better person, I want to be a better parent. So I
Mm.
knew I knew very early on, but I was still young though,
Yeah.
still young.
So then at what age do you think it started to really kick in, like your you know, I don't want to say your status, but like at what age did you realize, like, I could do better and I'm going to do better?
Mm, Probably well into like my 30s.
Yeah.
Like really, and being intentional about it, really being like, okay, this type of style don't work, even up to like, by the time you had graduated high school, you know what I mean? Like, what year did you graduate? Oh, 07,
Hmm.
2007.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so so even then, but by that time I had, Taurus. I mean, not Taurus, or I had Ryan, Kennedy, Elijah, and Isaiah. So it it was me being a different parent at different times, which is why you guys always say Elijah and Isaiah. If y'all would have did some of the things that they did,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah.
But by that time, I was a totally different parent, way more patient, had already been working on myself, had already been, doing all the empowerment things and just, really understanding, and then having the conversations, like that was the biggest thing for me. Like when I was able to just come to y'all and say, hey, I know I haven't been the best parent. I know I got some flaws. I know I probably did some things wrong, said some things wrong, and I just want to apologize. That to me was like the breakthrough. That was the breakthrough. That led me to have a greater understanding of who I am as a person. And then like if I could just apologize, I can't change it, can't make it better. But if I can apologize and just kind of share a little bit of who I am, then you guys will have a greater understanding of me as a person, not just as a mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you thought that you might have not did well, and what are the things that you think you did do well? What would you, um, yeah, what would you say those things are that you didn't do so well at?
Just have like my lack of patience, yelling, maybe not listening to you guys versus, it's like do as I say, not as I do type of thing. But that's like that old school parenting.
Right.
Children ought to be seen, not heard. What goes on in the house stays in the house. And so there was things that would go on, and I would be like, you can't say nothing, don't tell nobody. It was just a lot of just thinking back on it. I'm like, wow, this is no way to you know
Yeah.
there's not no way to parent a child. But again, like I said, still learning, still trying to understand. But through all of that, there was a time in my life where I was still going through whatever I was going through and probably took it out, on my children, which is
Yeah.
not the best thing to do either. And so that's why, like the healing, the accountability, the transparency comes in that because in order for you to even accept what you've done, you got to take responsibility. You got to be accountable. And
Yeah.
so when I understood that, I was like, okay, I am becoming a better person. And if and it's changed behavior. So it's not just apologizing, it's actually changed behavior. And
Mhm.
so if I can see that in myself and you can see it in myself, I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. Some of the things that I thought I did right was like I made sure, like my goal was always to make sure y'all was safe, make sure y'all had everything that y'all needed. I was very involved in school and activities and things like that. I made sure, you know, y'all was safe.
Yeah.
So that was always a priority to me. I made sure, I took y'all places and exposed y'all to things. And so those were the things that made me feel like, okay, I'm a really good parent, because
Hmm.
I'm not denying my kids education. I'm making sure they're in school. I'm making sure they look nice. I'm taking my sons to get haircuts. I'm taking my daughters to get their hair done. I'm dressing them nice. I'm keeping our house clean. I'm doing all those things. So yay, 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 mom. But it's
Hmm.
like the emotional side of motherhood and parenting is, the things that I just kind of lacked and missed out on.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's I agree. Yeah, I agree with you on all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. Um, but I would say that some of the things, the hard parenting style, it has its pros and cons. I would say like it does what it needs to do, but I don't think it works well for everybody. Like some people just can't. Like I think it did good for me and Jasmine to some level, but then it probably has its things that maybe it didn't do so well. That maybe there's a couple of things here and there that we might, but we grown now, so it's like
Yeah.
we've you know we've learned and we've applied what we could apply, and maybe some of the other stuff we just disregarded. But I think overall, I feel like it was I think you had a lot of different um, evolution to over those years, from when we was young to when we was teenagers until now as adults,
Mhm.
to our 30s. So we could see the changes, we could see the adjustments, we could see all the different things you've added and adjusted to over the years. So I think so. I just wanted to give you that little, what I'm saying? Like I could see,
Hello.
yeah, just a couple little things, So we
You die.
appreciate that. And now you have, young grandchildren and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Um, and I was going to ask you this. So when it comes to having a son and then a daughter, right, back to back like that. What was that like at that time, seeing the differences? And what do you think the difference was with raising a boy at that time and raising a girl? Like, what did you feel the difference was?
I never looked at it like I got a boy and a girl per se. It was like y'all were so close. It was almost like y'all were just the
Yeah.
same person. Not the same person, but you know what I'm saying? Like y'all was just so close in age, and y'all were actually close and still close. But I never thought like, okay, I have a boy, I have a girl. But I always think just overall in general, out of all six kids, it's easier for the boys. This is a little low maintenance. Um, Boys are low maintenance than girls. So yeah, but growing up, when I was growing up, I never thought like I gotta change the way I parent this child versus this child until you guys got a little bit older. But one thing about you and Jasmine is like y'all are a lot like me in a lot of different areas. So when I see like the independence, wanting to make sure you have your own mind and what you're doing and your own thinking process, and giving you guys the ability to sometimes do those things on your own. Even though there was times where I would be like, like, nah, you ain't doing that. You ain't doing that. But you've made it possible to do it on your own, regardless of what I said or what I thought.
Yeah.
Jasmine went to college. When she graduated from high school, you moved out, got your own place, and you just been kind of doing your own thing. And I love that for y'all. So maybe some of it was, we got to get up out of we got to get up out of her space.
Hey,
We got
well,
to,
we
you know
graduated
what I'm saying?
in we
Right.
graduated in June. I was gone by like that fall,
You was
the
you was
November.
gone. You was gone quick. It was no time. It was no
Yeah.
time. But it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, and I don't think I ever, between you and Jasmine, because y'all were just so close um in age. I never looked at it like I got a boy and I got a girl, and I gotta treat them or parent them differently.
Even though there is some differences, right?
It is some differences, but it was like at that time, it's like y'all gonna get the same of everything. Like
Yeah, yeah,
this is what y'all got, not this is what you had, this is what she had, this is what y'all have.
yeah. No, that's how it was. It was equal. It was the same for both of us, for sure. For us.
Yeah.
And then when you had another set of kids 10 years later, basically, then what
Yep.
was what was that like, starting all over again, 10 years later, after you had, your first set of kids? It was like you've done it again. Two kids at the same time. What was that?
Yeah,
What was it like?
that was really crazy because at that time I was um so I would have been what, 29,
When you had, yeah, 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 yeah,
28.
yeah.
Yeah, 28. I was
Mm-hmm.
28 when Ryan and Kennedy were born. And I just remember when I found out I was pregnant and it was twins, I'm like, oh, I'm tripping. But again, young parent, 28 is still young as a parent, but you're still an adult at that time, but you're still a young, pretty young. Um, and then what? I don't know. I feel like that was a time in my life where I was still trying to find myself, still trying to figure myself out, still wanting to, you know, be educated because I was
Mm-hmm.
in school, but I still wanted to have fun and party and do those types of things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but growing up, when y'all were growing up, a lot of the times I would party at the house. Just you party at the house. That way, you home. But sometimes, I'll go out, get a babysitter, and then once once the Elijah, not Elijah, say Lord, I get all my kids mixed up,
Oh
y'all.
yeah.
Ryan and Kennedy, once Ryan and Kennedy were born, and y'all was of age to babysit, then that became a thing. It's like, okay, y'all got to watch these kids, so it's like now y'all are being like many little parents and things like that. Just a lot of hot mess stuff going on. But
Yeah, that was
yeah,
rough too.
yeah, it was. And just looking back, I'm like, ooh, girl, you was doing some real wild, you know, stupid stuff without even thinking about the ramifications of it all and how things could have, happened as a result of it. But yeah, I didn't. I was just like, well, we just gonna figure it out. We gonna make it happen, and that's all we can do. And
Yeah,
that's all I. That's what I did.
yeah,
But again, thank God for having support system. I was never alone through this whole process, even though we were in Minneapolis and most of our family, in Chicago, still had support. So it wasn't like I had to do all this on my own, even on the day to day activities on my own, but still have a big support system. So
yeah,
it wasn't easy. Definitely wasn't easy.
yeah. Yeah, I just remember a lot of um pacifier missing pacifier problems. And then man, diapers like crazy. Um and I remember Donnell Jones every single day.
Donnell Jones, Donnell Jones, Erica
All
Badu, Mary
day.
J. Blige.
But that album came out that year, and I remember you playing the album. I mean, you just kept playing the album, just wouldn't stop
Yeah,
playing it. So I
that's one
remember,
thing about me. Once I like something, some music, I'm gonna wear it out. We gonna wear it
oh,
out.
that's a classic. But yeah, I remember that. I remember being 10 years old or whatever it was and listening to that album. Every time we jumped in the car, every time in the house, I'm like, damn. Not just that one, but all the other ones, but that one was
Re-
like,
Remember Crucial Conflict?
oh yeah,
You was
yeah.
too young to be listening to that. When you were
But y'all didn't
okay,
care.
I know that's what I'm saying. Young parents, just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Just not knowing, just ignorant. But there was you used to sing Ice Cube. Today was a good day. You
Yeah,
was 3 years old. You knew that song verbatim, verbatim.
classic.
That's wild. That's
Well,
wild.
at that age, our memories is a little bit. I probably knew a gang of songs by verbatim that you didn't even know I knew.
Yeah. But when that song came on, you were just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't
It was
know,
just
but
one of them easy
today,
songs that was cool. You just learned it easy. It was like
yeah,
still listen to that now. Like it's one of those that's gonna
yeah.
timeless, timeless, timeless.
But that crucial conflict, though, that was good.
Smoking on hay.
Smoking on hay in the middle of the hey now, we smoking on hay.
Y'all was exposing us to that. I had the little tape. Somebody bought me the tape. I don't know who it was. I had a
I
tape.
think it was my tape. I didn't buy it for you. I think you just started listening to it.
Okay, well, you also had that. I would listen to all your albums, by the way. So it was too young. DJ Quick,
Oh, well, DJ Quick was just as
sweet,
bad as
sweet,
Crucial
sweet
Conflict.
black. You know what?
Oops, my bad. My
So
bad.
yeah, shouldn't have been listening to
My
them
bad.
albums.
Okay,
Yeah,
my bad. Sorry.
yeah. And so, it was when I think back to those times, there's a lot of memories for sure. Like fun, some not so fun, but it was like, you know, the journey of it all. So it was
Yeah.
I wouldn't change nothing. It would just be like you need all those things that kind of help. get us to where we are now for sure. Like,
That's
but
true. That's true.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because
But we need to be able to talk about them, though.
yeah,
Not just allow things to just be. You can't just allow them to just be. So I'm really
yeah,
grateful that we have been able to talk about these things over the years, and it doesn't always feel the best. You know what I'm saying? It can sting, it can hurt a little bit, but I could take it, and it makes me a better person in the end.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
And so then, you know, you have these twin girls in what, 99.
99.
And just a few years later, you have another set. That was, by the way, I remember where I was at when I heard that you was having someone. I was tore up. I said,
Where
you having two more kids again? We just did this
we
again.
just did
Oh,
this.
so that it was like I was like, I don't want to be doing this.
Right,
At
because you're
first,
in high school at this point. You're
yeah,
like 16. I think you're 16 when the boys were born.
16, yep. And then I was just like, oh, we gotta do this thing again. And we didn't know if it was gonna be girls or what, but it was like when I heard that, I was kind of like, damn, I don't know. I don't want to be dealing with these little kids again. That was my initial response as a young
Right,
15, 16-year-old. I was like, man, I don't really want to, even though I'm not having the kids, I was thinking like, oh, I got to do this. I got to have to change the diapers, which I did. But it was like, when they came, it was like, oh, okay, he's got the little boys. I wanted some brothers, of course. Jasmine wanted some brothers. Everybody wanted brothers. So it was totally different in those girls for sure,
yeah,
night and day. So that's why I was like asking you what it was like because those two sets was totally different. And then individually they're different. So it was
oh
like,
yeah,
it was just like crazy how much different they are from each other. And then the girls versus the boys, just like you can't even compare it at all. It's just like apples to oranges.
for sure.
Um, and so then you end up having these new boys, these twin boys. What was that like? Just starting the process over with twins, and were you excited about doing twins again?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. I was not. I was not. I just wanted one. So just one. So I've always wanted to have a family with a husband.
Yeah,
I just didn't do the right steps. But in the beginning, that's your thought process. At some point I want to be married, have a family, blah blah blah. Well, I did it all backwards. I
right.
did it all backwards. So once me and Sam were married, my nose is running. Sorry.
Hmm.
Once we were married, I knew I was like, okay, I have a husband now. I'm gonna have one more baby. That's it. I'm gonna have one more baby, and it turned out to be two. And I remember I was telling, I think Isaiah this, is that when I found out I was pregnant, I was getting bigger quicker. I was like, oh man, I think it's twins. And so
Hmm.
when I went to my doctor's appointment, I told the nurse, I think I'm having twins. And I went ultrasound, give me an ultrasound. And she said, no, it's too early. We can't give you an ultrasound. I said, no, I need to know if I'm having twins. I need you to give me this ultrasound. So they did, gave me the ultrasound. And so as the thing is whatever it's called, the little wand camera is on your stomach. I'm looking over and I see the two in the sack. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. You have
Hmm.
got to be kidding me. And then from that point forward, I was just like, and I think I knew early on that I think we knew that they were going to be boys before they were born. We knew the sex. Child, I don't know. I wasn't elated to have twins again. But then when I found out that they were going to be boys, I'm like, okay, this makes it like a little bit better. I ain't got to deal with the girl drama, and they'll be like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was definitely like a big shock of the lifetime of
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Oh man. I just couldn't believe it because I didn't think I wasn't expecting no more brothers or sisters ever. I thought, oh, we good. We got the twins.
Right,
I'll
right,
be the only
right.
boy. That's cool. And
Yeah.
I wasn't tripping. I would like another brother, but at that point I was like, oh yeah, she ain't having. So I didn't think that you was even thinking about it. I didn't know you was thinking about it. I didn't know that was in the plans. I was caught straight off guard. I don't know how Jasmine was at that time, but I didn't see this coming. I was like, no, ain't no way she could have no more kids. So, and then you
Nah,
was getting older.
listen.
I was like, yeah, it's the time. All I had heard is that y'all don't really do too many kids. At that time, it was just like, yeah, women don't have kids at this age or whatever. Like you shouldn't because of X,
No,
Y,
I
Z.
was only 30, 32.
Which you was 32 or you was 30?
Yeah,
Oh,
32, 30. They were born in '05. I was 33.
okay. Let's see.
I was 33.
Oh, well, I thought you was a couple years. I thought
I
you was.
was 30. No, I was 33 when I had them, and then I turned 34
I thought you
the
was 35.
next.
I don't know why I thought you was 35. 36.
No, 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 no. I was
But
30,
no, come to
33.
find out that wasn't even true anyway. That whole little myth, I don't think that's valid. But women have,
No, no, absolutely not.
yeah. But that's what I was thinking. Like, damn, ain't she supposed to stop having kids right now? Like, she's not supposed to have them because you know whatever. Like, the
No,
kids
that's
might not
not too
be right,
old.
right. And
No.
that's what I didn't understand. And so, like I said, I was caught off guard and not in
But
surprise.
no, that's actually a great age to start having children. If you think about it, just maturity wise,
Stability.
financially, yeah, stability. You really should know who you are by the time you're 30, 32, 33. You should have it all figured out. You
Yeah.
should, not to say that you will, but you
Yeah.
should you should be a little bit more grounded and all the things and very secure,
Mhm.
and parenting can come more easily, more natural. You have more patience. You really understand more about parenting. You've
Yeah.
witnessed you've witnessed it hands on. You've seen other people parent their children. You've seen, what I'm saying? So you've gone through all those stages in life where this is now okay. This is actually something that I desire or something that I actually planned
Yeah.
versus oops, I just was being irresponsible and then this is what happened.
Yeah, that's a good point because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people, for whatever reason, that you rarely still to this day hear about people prearranging their child. Like
Mhm.
let's do
Mhm.
this now. We're ready. Like I'm hearing about it
Mhm.
more and more now these days, but I feel like I never used to hear people talk about how like we're ready to do a child. Let's go do it. Let's get everything together. Instead, it just be like, oh, we having a baby. Oops,
Right.
like I said. And so I
Yeah.
think it's good that people are, and I wouldn't say that it wasn't happening. I'm just saying I didn't see it. So, but I think
Right.
now I'm seeing it more and more and more, which I
Mhm.
think it's a good thing. It's going to help the future and make for some great kids and great parents. And that's what the world needs: better parents, better children, And
Definitely.
I think we headed in that direction more and more, I would say. We would hope. One would hope.
Yeah, because by the time Elijah and Isaiah came, like I said, I'm 33. We got a huge family, huge
Yeah,
family.
yeah,
Lots of responsibilities going on, and
yeah,
we had, so it's us. Then we got the bonus kids. The
yeah.
husband. So it's like we
Mhm.
we live in a house of how many? 10 of
Yeah,
us.
it was 10.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
8 kids, 2 adults, so it's 10 of us.
it's a lot of us in that house.
That,
Yeah, that was like,
yeah.
you know.
So even
Um,
thinking back to that time, it's like, and we would go out. I remember, how we would all be out, and people would just be like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, these all your children?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh my gosh, they're so good. They're so well mannered. They're so just, because you used to
yeah,
seeing the kids running around in restaurants and climbing all up on the tables and the chairs. Now, like, now we going out." And then people
yeah,
also think when you have a big family, like you're not supposed to take your kids out. Like you're
yeah,
supposed to just be at home. You're not supposed to take your kids anywhere. You gotta, you can't afford it or whatever it may be. And so people weren't used to seeing large families together out at a restaurant. And we, we went out quite often. We
yeah,
used to eat
yeah.
out a lot. not a lot, but you know what I'm saying. We used to eat out.
And
We
now
used to take
people
out.
got their kids right up at the rooftop happy hour or the date
Oh
night,
yeah,
right? So this
it's a thing.
the club, whatever.
It's
the
definitely a
the
thing. Yeah.
concert with the headphones on, the little baby. I'm like, oh
Listen, I always took you and Jasmine out to eat. We used to go to Fridays downtown when Fridays was on. I don't know if y'all remember this. When Fridays was on Hennepin, we used to go down there every Monday night. Kids ate free.
kids eat free. Yeah,
Yep, kids ate free, and so I pay for my meal, and y'all got y'all meal free, and that's kind of how Fridays ended up being our thing. We used to
yeah.
Fridays was the family thing. Every birthday, every whatever, we gonna go to Fridays. But then I
Fridays, yeah.
also took y'all to Benihana,
The
which
first,
was
yep, you did. We went there.
Ichiban. It was Ichiban. Yeah, Ichiban. I used to
Oh
take y'all
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yep, I used to take
How old
y'all
was we
there.
again? It was about 11, 12, or younger than
Man,
that.
but I think it's before that. It was way before that. Y'all
Mm.
were like maybe 6 and 7. We was going eating there.
So we've been
And
going
then
on
that
that.
and then that became a thing.
Yeah,
That kind of still is a thing. We kind of let
still
go
is
of
a
Fridays
thing.
though. We let go of Fridays.
Well, Fridays just went into the
It
garbage.
went downhill. Yeah,
They
it
ain't
went
really,
downhill.
I used to get them chicken fingers and that was it. And then they changed the
Yeah.
recipe. So yeah, Fridays is over with. But
But yeah,
you know,
well, we did a lot of things. We did a lot of things.
yeah, we definitely went out to eat a lot. That's for sure. What was the other restaurant that was in the mall? Like, was it like Tuesday, Fat Tuesday, or something? What was it?
Um, you talking about the with the birds and stuff? Rainforest Cafe?
I thought it was another one up in the mall. I can't remember. Maybe
Well,
they did.
Fat Tuesday was in the mall,
What was
but
that
that
at?
was that
Did we
was
go there?
that wasn't. Well, I did take y'all in there with me one time, but those were the
One time.
frozen daiquiris. Those were the frozen daiquiris. You
Uh,
remember that?
yeah. See,
Those are the frozen daiquiris. But it was just a daiquiri bar. Yeah, it was just
we
a
shouldn't have been
daiquiri
up in
bar.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Should
You had
well,
us up in the adult spot, and
yeah, I had y'all up in there.
all type of places we shouldn't have been. No.
Oops, my bad.
So then now you have basically no, you have six grown children now. And so now looking back from where you started to where you are now as a parent, um, how do you feel you've progressed and how do you feel you've done after all
I,
these years of being a parent?
I think I've done damn good. I think I've done damn good. I do. I do. Despite, the beginnings, the early beginnings, the little rocky middle situations, and
Yeah.
even up to, few years back ago. It's all been a learning experience. And then to each child, very different. But I think everybody has a little part of me. And so if you have a little part of me, then that means you have empathy for me and understanding for me because you have empathy and understanding for yourself. But I love my family. I love y'all. I love everything that we have. I love our little tips and taps and spats and love and support. And, like it's just all great. I have my grandkids now. And I love watching you as a parent and as a dad and how you don't necessarily bring how you were parenting over to your kids. Maybe some of the things you don't. You know what I'm saying? But just watching you, as an adult and a father, it makes me feel really complete. I know I did at least something right. At least I did a little something right. But yeah, and I'm proud of myself. For like I said, taking accountability and we all are in a place where we can have conversations. If something ain't right, let's talk about it. Oh yeah, I'm
And
I'm I'm proud of myself.
why do you think that people struggle so hard with accountability? It's a problem for so many people. And as an adult, I get it. Some people's childhood it wasn't held accountable, but it's like that word is like really, man, people don't like it. And I don't know if I just, what's your take on like why people struggle so hard with, even if they don't have it as a young person, like why are they not
Mm-hmm.
developing it and trying to get it together? They just don't want to be accountable. They just don't like it. And there's a lot of people that have the issue. Why you think that is?
Well, it's hard to take responsibility for yourself sometimes in your actions. It's easier to put the blame on somebody else.
Right.
I'm like this because this is how I grew up, or I'm like this because my mom did this. I'm like this because my daddy wasn't around, or whatever it may be.
On and
It's
on.
easy to just, yeah, it's easy to place that blame, but internal work is brutal.
Yeah.
If I just say you did this to me, I don't have no responsibility in it. I have no stake in the game. So I can move on with my life. Like, okay, this person did this to me. But you also gotta take an inventory of the things, or not even the things, but the ways in which you participated in some of those actions or
Yeah.
those activities. So what was your role? And when you start to think about that, it takes a lot of internalizing. And that's painful because you got to look at yourself.
Right.
And when you
Exactly.
got to look at yourself and deal with yourself, that's worse than dealing with your mama, your daddy,
Mhm.
your person that you're in a relationship. That's why I think it's so difficult to take accountability. But I
Right.
mean, but it's healing. It's
Yeah.
healing, and it sets you free. You know, this is these some of the most important conversations that I used to listen to was when Oprah Winfrey had Iyanla Vanzant on her show.
Hmm.
When she first brought her on, she had like this a little segment, I remember, and then I went and bought her books and her, all that type of stuff, and I just started reading, and I consumed myself in trying to become better,
Yeah.
and I'm watching her and I'm listening to the language that she's using, and I'm like, oh wow. And then when she got her own show, Young Love Fix My Life, that's what really
Yeah.
started getting me to be like, you got a little bit more work to do. And I
Yeah.
would watch how she would deal with those families. She
Mhm.
would tell them, like, you gotta look at yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? Like, what
Yeah.
what could you have done differently?
Yeah.
You
And
blaming
she's great.
everybody else.
Yeah. I like her a lot because
I
she's
love her.
she might be one of the like OGs to this
She's
like
the GOAT.
of that whole like be accountable and telling people about themselves when they
Yeah.
unable to say some of the things. She'll tell you like, no, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you're doing wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all are dead wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like the people don't even know sometimes. Like they didn't even know or understand or couldn't put it together. Like, oh, that's the role I played. This is the role. So I think she helped a lot of people too
She did
over the
help
years.
me.
Yeah, cause
I would be in
we still watch her show now. Her shows,
Oh yeah.
reruns and stuff. It's
Oh
classic.
yeah. Free
Yeah,
therapy. It's free therapy. But I would be in
yeah,
tears sometimes watching her because I
yeah,
resonated with some of the people that were on her show. And I
yeah,
would be like, man, that's like literally me sitting up there.
yeah,
And so I'm like, I can relate to that. That's
yeah,
why I wanted to do this podcast. Because I'm like,
yeah,
somewhere along the line, there's going to be a mother and a son, a mother and a daughter who can relate to some of the stories that we're sharing. Because we got to be able to see ourselves in some of this pain that we're experiencing. We got to be able to see, like, okay, I'm not the only person that's dealing with this. And it sounds really cliche, but it's really true. Until I started seeing these people on her show, I was like, wow, this
yeah,
is actually a thing that you can actually heal from and recover from. You don't have to sit in
yeah.
this mess.
And it felt real too. It felt like it was because I question some of these reality shows
Of
like.
course you do.
But it felt real what they was doing on there. Like, damn, it was like this is a real reactions, real people going through these real problems, and you can't
Hmm.
say that about a lot of shows that's on. So I felt like that was one of the realest shows probably that came out in the last I don't know how many years, but
Yeah.
that's a good person to bring up when it comes to accountability.
And she has her own personal testament too. Her own
Yeah,
story that she shares. It's like, wow, she done been through a whole lot, a
yeah,
whole lot. I
yeah,
can't remember all the details behind it, but 'cause she was abandoned. I think her mother abandoned her. Her mother didn't raise her. She was raised by her grandmother.
Well, I didn't know that.
And
Yeah.
and yeah, and even Oprah Winfrey, her, she didn't have a relationship with her mother either. Her grandmother raised her. So there's this thing with that age group too, of not being raised by your mother, and then
Mm-hmm.
the trauma that can bring. And that's why Oprah Winfrey never wanted to have kids. She never wanted to have
Mm.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic too. Um, so it's my last question for you.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun.
Now I know a lot of people would want to act like they don't want to live with regret, and regret is bad and all that, but we'll take the word regret out. If you could go back and do things, take Nicole today, insert Nicole back into 1989 and start over,
Mm.
what would you be doing differently? How would
Start
you redo?
89 over, so you're already
So
here.
take Nicole right now, the mentality Nicole has right now, place her into 89 Nicole, and start over from then with that mind. So you're still the same age. You're still
Mm.
18, but you have everything you have right now back into you in that year. How would it be different for you? What would you do different?
So
How would you
if
navigate through this with everything you know, with your wisdom, with your knowledge? What would you
if
do
I'm
better?
18, if I'm 18 and
You got the
and
knowledge
you're
of a 50 something year old
but
woman.
you're born already. But are you born already?
No, I'm not born. You're
So
pregnant with me
17.
right now. You 17. You pregnant right now with
Okay.
the
So
wisdom
you're
and the knowledge.
coming. You're coming.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So you're gonna be born. Well, I there would be no Jasmine, no Tori. No, I mean it's no Tori. Like I told you, I get the kids mixed up. There would be no Jasmine. There would be no Ryan. There would be no Kennedy. There would
Wow.
be no Elijah. There would be no Isaiah.
Wow. So it wouldn't be that's deep. Wow. You think that? That's what you think, huh?
Yeah, based on who I am today and what I know today, absolutely. Because some of the, being sexually active and being young, it kind of don't have no place. It's just like you don't even know who you are yet, and it's like you're sharing. This is a whole other conversation, but you barely even know yourself, but
Yeah.
you're giving yourself to this other person, and then you get pregnant to have this baby that you have to take care of. You don't even know who you are as a person.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically you did have all of us. Okay. What are you going to do differently in how you parent it? What are you changing? What are you how are
Yeah,
you flipping?
definitely being more patient. Definitely being more patient. I probably would be the type of parent who, when I hear like Michelle Obama talk about how her parents parented them, and they just kind of let them figure things out on their own, versus how. And I think I said this on Isaiah's show is that
Mhm.
that how many apples Johnny had. They Johnny had eight
Oh,
apples. You know what I'm saying? It's like the me now would just be like, oh well, just like take your time, figure it out, you'll get it. Just sit and think about it for a while. Not like I'm gonna choke you for not getting the right answer. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
So that definitely would be something different. And then just the emotional aspect of it. I think back then, to even think about like going to some type of therapy,
Hmm.
with your family or even with yourself is like super taboo. You don't need to be going to talk to nobody. You don't be telling nobody your business. A lot of the things that I experienced growing up was me internalizing the things that I would hear. So I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm going to figure these things out on my own. I'm not going
Right.
to tell anybody. I'm not going to ask anybody for any help. I'm going to do all, you know what I'm saying? So being like hyper independent
Yeah.
was me all the way through my 40s. Like,
Yeah.
even I still have things that go on now where I
Mm-hmm.
can just be very hyper,
Yeah.
independent.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
looking back, I definitely would have, um, sought out more resources, sought out more help and assistance in those areas, because like I know I'm feeling like I want to change, but I'm doing it all on my own.
Yeah.
I'm journaling. Like I said, I'm watching Iyanla. I'm reading. Avid reader. So I'm consuming the knowledge that I need, but I don't necessarily know how to apply it.
Mm. Yeah.
So those would definitely be some of the changes that would take place. It's just that emotional part, and me even, it's like, how do I become an emotional being?
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to peel some of those layers back so that I can have, deeper connections with people? Because that for a long time was like not me. I'm like, oh no, we're not gonna talk about none of that.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And
You're
that
not gonna
was
get too much out of me.
yeah. And it seemed like that was true for a lot of people. It wasn't uncommon for a parent to
Right.
be like that. A parent or not parent, just to be like, oh, we ain't gonna put our business out there. We're not gonna talk about things going on. Like you said, it wasn't the time. Therapy wasn't a thing. It was a thing, but it
It
wasn't,
was a thing,
it
but there
was
was
like
this
it is
huge
now.
stigma behind it, like
Yeah.
something's wrong with you, or
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
something is wrong with you, but not like you're broken. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, there's a difference between, like, I don't feel well, I don't feel good about myself, versus I feel I'm broken, like I'm useless, I'm no good. And so the more you talk about those things, and that's why I say it's hard for people to really internalize and
Right.
have those deep conversations with themselves. And a lot of it, and two, is forgiveness. And like another, like, not two, this is probably the third point, but like, you got to be able to forgive yourself.
That's
That was
true.
another thing. I
Yeah.
had to, I'm like, I did the best that I can. I did the best that I could. Did the best that I could under the level of consciousness that I was in that moment. I did the best that I could with the resources that I had, or that I wanted to have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I did the best that I could with the knowledge that I had. And then I kept learning and I kept growing. And that's how I ended up being, who I am today. And I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still, the reason I'm able to have these conversations is because I've done the work. I'm
Hmm.
still doing the work. So without that, it's like you stuck 20 years in the past, which you
Yeah.
see people that are like that. You're like, why are you 40, 50 years old and you're still stuck on something that happened when you were a teenager in your 20s? It's like, when are you going to just let that go, or take responsibility, heal from it, something? Something has to give here.
Yeah. And I think that's what helps you. You've been able to kind of, like you said, learn and understand and make those adjustments over the years. So I appreciate you for doing that work and
Thank you.
coming to yourself and who you are and understanding, the things that you could have done differently or better, and just moving forward and trying your best to, apply that new understanding to your life now. So, and I think I appreciate you for that. So thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
doing good. Everything is good. So we cool. You know what I'm saying? Ain't got no problem with you.
I sure appreciate it. I sure appreciate it. But yeah, it makes me feel great to know that we can have these conversations, and that, we all out here just trying to be better in life. We all out here trying to be better.
Every day, yeah, every day.
Yeah.
I can see it. I see all of
Yeah.
us have our little things with all of us, but I think we all are trying to get better too at the same time. So I'm happy that everybody's kind of trying to do their little versions of fixing up what they got going on with all of
Mhm.
us. You know what I'm saying? So I can see it in all of us. Like it's I can name everything about each and every one that they fixed or worked on, or I see that they've got better. Maybe they don't even realize, but I realize it. So it's exciting to see everybody kind of taking that step, you know. just just happened to be like, oh, they didn't worked on a couple of things, you know, and Jasmine, Ryan, and Kennedy, or just all of us. So it's
Yeah, definitely, all of us. But I mean, we can see that in each other, and we can all learn, like you said, learn from each other too.
yeah,
Because if you don't have that model of what that looks like, then how do you even know it can exist? Because I didn't have that model. I had to figure these things out on my own. But like I said, thanks
yeah,
to watching Oprah and Iyanla, I was able to see myself in a different light, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
that type
It,
of thing. And
it's
even
crazy.
just like my anger or lack of patience, was stemming from a lot of different things, and I didn't understand why. Like why, and then I was telling Ryan the other day, like a lot of that was hormones too.
Yeah,
A lot of that was hormones too. Like when I used to have my cycle, I was the worst. I was the worst. Oh my God, I was the worst.
yeah.
I was
See,
the
that's some
worst.
stuff I don't be understanding, so I don't even try to get into none of that. I'm like, what? I don't know. We
It
don't.
was
We
it
don't. We
was
don't know. We don't get it as men, by the way. When y'all just slip that out there,
yeah,
we don't get it. I don't know what's going on.
it was pretty bad. It was
I
pretty bad. Yeah,
don't,
but when I would see certain reactions in people, and it would kind of it just would put me in, like in a chokehold. Like that's me,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be that person. Like I don't like I couldn't really see it in myself, but I when I saw it in other people, I was like, I don't like that. I need to
Yeah,
work on that. I need to change that. That's nasty behavior, and I don't like it.
yeah. I'm um I'm grateful that you've done all of the work that you've done over the years. I think it's because who knows? Like, what if you didn't do that? What would it be like right now? I don't know.
Right.
So, you know, as your offsprings, those are the things that we want to see, and we want to be able to um, enjoy our mother to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hmm.
thank you. I thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Well,
yeah.
do you have any? This has been great. This has been great. So I'm glad you changed your mind. For one, I'm glad you changed your mind because I don't. I would have probably just scrapped the whole project. I would have
I,
scrapped the whole project.
yeah, I know.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, you've shared some wisdom already throughout, this time we've spent together. So based like on our conversation, do you have, like any wisdom you like to share that you've gained today, or like any final thoughts? How do you plan on, continuing to grow and evolve and mature, and, as you continue to parent your children?
Um, I think it's just a matter of, you know, like that awareness is really everything just stems from right there. Just being aware and learning about the reason why things are going on. And I think that there's too many people that don't have the awareness for whatever reason they don't. And I think that's something that we have to continue to teach as parents to show these kids um, who they are and what they can do. And I think that the way that the world is moving now, when it comes to parenting, at least, I think even though there's a lot of bad stuff going on, I think for the most part, there's a lot of good things happening for young parents who are out there who didn't have the tools, or I mean, who have the tools now that their parents may didn't have, like you were speaking about earlier. And I think, even though it may not look like it, I think we're in good hands to some degree with everything that's going on, with everything that's available. I just think people have to learn to acknowledge what are the things they need and then get the help that they need. And pass that along to the next generation, and then
Mm-hmm.
and keep that going. I think there was too many years of just misinformation, bad parenting being passed down, and then the next generation just grab that baton and then just do that same thing. So I think those days are kind of starting to be more and more in our past. I think people are learning, which I think is great. But like we was talking about, like some of the things that maybe you've done or the way you parented, then maybe they wasn't all great. It wasn't all bad either. But I don't get to just be walking around like, yeah, my mother did this. That's why it's unacceptable. And that's what needs to be taught to the kids, that you have to be accountable, like you said. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this was cool. I appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me. I was glad to do it.
Yes, thank you.
I had a lot to think about if I want to do it or not, but I said, let me go ahead and just do it. It's cool and knock it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. I thought this would be like the hardest one. I was like, this is just gonna break. It's gonna break me down. So I got my packs of tissue and all
No,
that.
no, no.
Like,
We ain't gonna do it.
I'm like, I was like, I'm gonna crying and all that type of stuff. But I mean,
I didn't want to do that.
I
We'll
do have
start.
emotion. I do
We'll
have
do
emotion.
that we will save that for the next one. When we get the conversation, then maybe we'll do a little bit of that other stuff.
Yeah, so we'll see you back when we do the family circle, and I'll have all you guys on. We'll just be,
Maybe
kikiing, laughing it up, chopping it up,
this might be my
yapping.
this might be my final one. So we're gonna see. We'll see.
Nah, you gotta join that one too.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's
We'll
gonna
see.
be more laid back, chill. Just all be in the Brady Bunch squares and just be talking.
We might
So
could.
by that time, you guys can all watch everybody's episodes. You know what I'm saying? And then we can just kind of circle back.
Yeah. Yeah. That might be all right. I didn't think about
All
that.
right. All right. Well, thank you, Taurus, my
Thank-
oldest child, for participating, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for
Don't
having
hang up.
me.
You're
Good luck
welcome.
on your podcast too, by the way. Good luck. Congratulations. So good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't hang up. Thank you so much for tuning in to the unBITTER Bitch podcast. Come back next week and we'll be dropping another episode. Let me know your thoughts, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.